All right, so HubSpot is effectively giving you your own personal sales assistant. So if you're in sales or you're an account manager and you want to save time, you want to prepare better for meetings and generally just stay on top of your accounts. But the question is, how do you do that in practice? So I think what we're going to do today is give you a few tips, a few use cases of how you can get instant context without having to click through or really crawl through all of that information in the portal. If you're in sales, so let's jump into the first use case, and let's start with the most common scenario is how do we summarize a contact's activity history so we can get on top of the game? Come on.
Okay, great. So what I have here is an example of one of our contact records. So if you navigate to your contacts and open any contact record, you'll be able to see an overview of all of the activity that's been done. If you had to go through the entire overview or filter down to all of the activity on a contact record, it can be really overwhelming. So what you'll see here in the top right-hand corner is your Breeze record summary. Now, this is standard in HubSpot's new view, but you can also customize your record to show you this Breeze summary. What it will do is pull in some information here about the latest communication and also enable you to ask it a few further questions. So what I'll use as an example is to say, summarize recent activity with this contact and tell you exactly what's been happening from a sales, emails, calls, and meeting perspective. Now, if you wanted to take this even a step further, to look at more information before reaching out to this company, you could also navigate into the Intelligence tab on that contact record. And here, it'll automatically give you a summary based on the email address for that contact about who their related company is, if you didn't have that associated yet, their employment role, where they are based, and some of the company keywords associated to that company.
Yeah, thanks, Mon. So you've got effectively faster context and you've got a lot more confidence before going into those calls if you're in the sales teams or the account teams and you're getting ready for that. Yeah, I suppose what's also just a nice little carry on from that is actually getting all of the information before you're going into those meetings. So a nice quick way to get your meeting prep done, to get all of the key action points that you need to cover ahead of that. And again, it goes back to trying to save time, less admin, and getting ready for that meeting. So how do we go about that?
Make sure that you are also using the HubSpot sales integration to track meetings and calls through your CRM. And what we want to do now is just check on what were our key discussion points from meetings. And what I like about this is you can essentially also push it further to give you a meeting agenda. So here you'll have a recap of each of the phases, and it's pulling this from all of the meeting records as well as the notes captured through any of your meeting integrations within HubSpot. It's going to give you a proper bulleted breakdown point, discussing budgets, commercials, licensing, and all of the key deliverables for the project at hand. Now I can say, give me a summarized agenda. I can send to the client. You can literally copy, paste, and email that contact straight here from within HubSpot to avoid clicking around. You can literally... It's
all done right from the record as you have there. It can check on previous emails that you've had, previous conversations that you've had. It effectively is bringing you right up to speed, and you get that agenda at the click of a button, which is great. You can have this all. There's obviously a lot of sales folks and account managers here which are dealing with quite large accounts as well. What can we do to sort of get to know more about all the moving parts in those chunkier accounts?
So I'm going to navigate to the clients that I was just communicating with company record. So from here, I'm going to go into my Breeze agent once again in the top right-hand corner, and it's going to give you a recap of everything that's been happening on an account-wide level within this company. You'll also be able to prompt it regarding intelligence on any of your associated objects. What it's going to do is have a look at all of the activity across all of the users that has been logged. Here you can see that it's telling you the engagement of late has been extremely high. The email volume is significant. You can see the notes that have been taken and the overall activity summary all given to you by the Breeze agent. If you wanted to take that further, you could also say, who are we speaking to and how engaged are they? If you wanted to update and enrich a contact record or company record at any point with that information, you can also do that by simply navigating to the left, click Enrich Record, and HubSpot will tell you which properties it can enrich on a company and contact level, and you can decide which you'd like it to enrich and which you wouldn't.
It ultimately is just going to help you have stronger conversations. Look back a few years, you really would have been doing all the research, go into websites, go into LinkedIn, go into a lot of different elements and trying to piece it all together before you start opening up in those new conversations. So that is very cool indeed. If we look back, Now, I guess when you are working on those larger accounts, and particularly for all those enterprise sales folks out there, even going beyond that data, I'm just looking at very specifically any recent changes on that account is going to be pretty critical. You're going to want to make sure you've got a bit of a safety net, for what you're doing, and nothing wants to slip through the cracks. So what can we do to help not miss anything important in that sense?
Now what you can do is simply go into the Breeze agent and prompt it to summarize the last 30 days of activity, or even ask it to drill down into that further and tell you exactly what has happened on that account. It's going to generate information for you that'll give you everything at a glance and show you the exact quantities of that, together with dates and timestamps, as well as outcomes and purposes of those calls. So if you look here, you can see everything to do with the meetings, all of the details that were discussed, from the scope of the project to specific requirements, to make sure that you're not missing anything when you're reviewing the record, briefing the team, or communicating with your team internally, as well as a few suggested next steps that were discussed. And all of the findings from your internal notes as well from the teams.
It's really useful, and I guess the one thing that's really common is just to look for any red flags as well. So if there is any sort of technical support queries or tickets being raised, you can be ahead of the game there before you make any mistakes. You can be Okay, so we all want to get to the point where we're closing deals, we're getting new clients on board, and sales teams have obviously got that at the forefront of their mind. But then there's also arguably a more important part of this, and that's actually the transition from the sales team to the delivery team or the services team, to get them on board and to get that relationship going nice and smoothly now the contract's signed. So tell me, Mon, what can we do within the system, and how can HubSpot help us to create that internal handover a lot more easier than it used to be?
Okay. To do this from a company level, if a new account manager was taking over this account, you could say, create a handover summary for this account, and even take it further in saying in each section, break down exactly what the rep needs to know about the business, the location, the life cycle, the problem we're solving, and the level of engagement we've had. It goes down into the current status and sentiment of that client, tells you who the decision makers are, what the timelines were that have been discussed, as well as the key stakeholders and relationships. And as Simon mentioned earlier, you can take this further by asking it, what are the red flags to look out for? What opportunities can I look at? And another opportunity to take that prompt further is to ask it for any gaps in communication that you feel you should recheck in on or follow up with.
In that sense, it's cleaner handovers, less risk, and generally a better customer experience. In that sense.
A great feature we'll also be covering is HubSpot's native customer handoff agent, which allows you to configure and specify the specific accounts you want to hand over to new account managers, or from marketing to sales, or from your sales team to your account management team.
Cool. So thanks, Mon. So there's another 5 ways that we can hopefully provide sales reps and account managers with less admin, more context, and better conversations.